gives us a lot of information. They give us a situation, they give us a table, we see some f of x's down here. Let me explain something to you. Whenever you're doing this, it's math you already know. In this specific scenario, I'm going to read it in a second, we're given a function. We are then given a table and asked to write another function, and when we're done, we're asked to compare both of those functions at 30. It's nothing new. How many of you in here know how to find the slope, also known as the constant rate of change, at this time? Okay. How many of you, using this table, could find the y-intercept, also known as the initial value? It's nothing new. Then you write your function, which is the same as an equation slope-intercept form, and you evaluate it. 99% of the time, we're evaluating for the x, because it's a function. So let's get started. Let's start by reading the scenario. We have Marcus and Janice. They download music from different services. The monthly cost, Y dollars for X songs is linear. You don't really need that sentence in there, but I'll let you know it's linear. So there is a constant rate of change. The cost for Janice to use iTunes is given by this. Y equals 1.25x plus 10. So that's his cost function. 1.25x plus 10. We're given that one. We're given 1. That's a freebie. After that, we need to find the cost for Marcus to use Google Play. It's shown in that table right there. We have a bunch of inputs and a bunch of outputs. The good thing is I can use those to find the slope for this table. So Nick, hi Nick, we want to find the slope for this table. So we need two coordinate pairs, xy, 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 xy. There's decimals and there's whole numbers. I could use any of them, it doesn't matter, but whole numbers are easier. So which two do you want to use? And? Well, wouldn't this, you could use that one. This one might be easier, right? Because it's whole numbers, less ways to make mistakes. Does it matter? No, doesn't matter. However, given a choice, I try to avoid decimals, negative numbers, and fractions because less room for error. Whole numbers, nice and easy. Tell me, what am I writing in my slope formula? What's your y2 here? You have xy, xy. These are your coordinate pairs. What's your y2? Anybody want to help them out? What's y2? Anybody? Class, what is it? 30. 30. It's the larger of the y values. So 21 and 30, it's going to be 30 minus y1, which is 21, over x2 minus x1. So 14 minus 8, that's going to give me 9 over 6. I will divide, because this is dollars and cents, I will turn it into a decimal. That's dollars, so I will make it a decimal. My m for this is 1.5. So I found the m, 1.5. 9 divided by 6 becomes 1.5. Once I know the m, I can go back and I can find the b, the y-intercept, the initial value. It's all the same thing. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to find that. In order for me to do that, I must know that my m is 1.5, then I need an x, and I need a y. Does it matter which x and y coordinate pair I use? No, just make sure you're not doing something like this. You're not going to use 5 and 2550. It has to be a coordinate pair. This one, this one, this one, or this one. So let's go to Sophie Perez. Sophie, which coordinate pair do you want to use, kiddo? 821, which means that 8 is my x, my y is 21, so I'll write this equation. Y equals mx plus b, and I start substituting in values. Sophie, what's my y? So 21 is equal to 1.5 times my x value, which is 8, plus b. So I substituted in the y, the m, the x. Now I perform the multiplication. What am I multiplying, Sebastian? 1.5 times 8. What is 1.5 times 8? Just Sebastian. So 12. So we're going to end up with 21 is equal to 12 plus b. And then what do I do to get b alone, dude? I want to get b alone. I want to get b alone on this side of the equal sign. So I need to get rid of that 12. How do I get rid of that 12? I subtract 12 from both sides, minus 12, and I get 9 is equal to b. So I found my b. I can write the function for Marcus as f of x is equal to 1.5x plus 9. I have both their cost functions. The first half of this problem is done. These problems are not difficult. they just take you a little time. In this case, we just have to write one function. Later on, we have to write a function for both, because they're not going to give us one. So I have the function for Marcus. I have the function for Jamie's. It wants me now to evaluate it to see whose service is cheaper for 30 songs. To make sure I know what I'm plugging in for, I go to the table. Songs, is that an X value or a Y value? It's an X value, so that means I'm going to be plugging in 30 for the X here and for the X here. So we plug that in, and it's going to be f of X is equal to 1.5. We take the X, we remove it. What number do I put in its place? 30, because we want to know the cost for 30 songs. So 30 plus 9, I perform the multiplication, I get 45 plus 9, so 30 songs cost me $54 if my name is Marcus. Marcus, 30 songs, $54. Okay, now that we know Marcus's cost, we have to go in and we have to find Janice's cost. So I now do the same exact thing that I did here to this function. I take 30, I substitute it in for X, and I'm going to have f of X is equal to 1.25 times 30 plus 10. When I do the multiplication, I get 3750 plus 10. I remember to add or subtract. I always do. Don't ever forget. Multiplying is just the first part. Then whatever this is, you must add or subtract it. That's addition. So I add it together. I end up with $47.50. So now I can answer that question. Who pays less for 30 songs? Marcus or Jamies? Jamies. He pays $47.50. He pays $54. He pays $6.50 less than this guy. Any questions on the first one before we try one together? Anybody? 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 Okay, so let's try one of these together. Christian! Christian. Here, we have a cell phone company. They have two plans for text messages. Plan A, which is represented by this cost function, and then Plan B, which is represented by this table. We want to find out which of these plans is cheaper for 1,000 text messages. I have one cost function. To compare these correctly, I need the cost function for Plan B, which is represented in this table. So I need to find the M, the B, and I can write the cost function. What coordinate pairs do you want to use to find the M, the constant rate of change, also known as the slope? 120, so we're going to use 100, 20 and 200, 25. So what's going in your slope formula?
200 minus 1.
Nope. Remember, y2 minus y1. These are x values, these are y values. So what goes in your slope formula? 25 minus 20. Be careful because sometimes the smaller numbers go on top. 25 minus 20 over 200 minus 100. Make sure you line it up correctly. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals 5 over 100. And when you divide, that gives you 0.05. So we found the slope, also known as the rate of change, for Plan A. It's 0.05. I may get a decimal because, once again, we're talking about dollars and cents. If you want to leave it as 5 over 100, simplify it to 1 over 20, that's going to make your job harder. Dollars and cents, transfer it over to a decimal. All right, so now that we know the M, we must find the B. Maria Herreros. Maria, to find the B, we know the M. What coordinate pair do you want to use for us to find the B?
120.
Okay, 0.05 is the same as that. 120, so x is 100, y is 20. Then I write my equation. Does it matter which coordinate pair we use for this? No. Y equals mx plus b. And then what's your y value?
0.05.
No, that's my m value. That's my slope. What's my y?
20.
20. So 20 is equal to 100 times 0.05 plus b. I perform the multiplication. You know what that multiplication is? What it becomes? 100 times 0.05. And it's 5. So 20 is equal to 5 plus b. To get b alone, I subtract 5 from both sides, and I get b is equal to 15. So my B, my initial value, my y-intercept, 15. I can write the cost function as 0.05x plus 15. I now have the function for plan B. Once I have that piece of information, I can finally do what they asked me to do at the beginning of this problem. I can evaluate both plans for 1,000 text messages. Jaylene, plan A. We want to evaluate it. We look here, we see it's 1,000 text messages. So I look at the table. Text messages, is that X or Y? Well, we want to evaluate plan A, but for 1,000 text messages. So I look at the table, text messages, is that X or Y? X. So that means we're going to substitute in 1,000 for X. So we'll do that. We'll write f of X is equal to 0.10 times 1,000 plus 5. When you perform the multiplication right here, what do you get? I get 100. I don't forget to add the 5. If you do, it's wrong. If you forget to add it, it's wrong. And when I add that together, what do I get? 105. So plan A for 1,000 text messages is 105 schmackas, simoleons, fazools, whatever you want to call them. Michael, plan B, dude. What are we evaluating? So I'm going to substitute in f of x is equal to 0.05 times 1,000 plus 15. Michael, do the multiplication. Tell me, what do I get when I multiply this?
You get
50. I do 50 plus 15. Michael, good job, 65. So plan B costs $65. Janelle Williams. Now that we have all the information, Janelle, which plan is cheaper for 1,000 text messages, A or B? Plan B is cheaper, 65 versus 105. Plan B is the cheaper option in the long run. There you go, thank you very much, good job. Any questions on this? Was any of this math new? No. We're just writing as functions and evaluating. But this is your last chance to get this and practice it. Every year, right around this time, this is when it clicks for everybody. Right around here, 90-95% of kids, it clicks here. They never do all this, we move into equations. It's like a brand new world. A whole new. Moving on. As soon as the next one starts, let me go. Right down the question. It's not going to change. Comparing a table and a graph. So in the previous one, they gave us one of the functions. The talking should stop right now over there. Thank you. All right, the previous one, they gave us one of the functions. Here, they don't give us either of the functions. What we're given is a table, a graph, and a scenario. The table, the graph show how many words Morgan, that's the table, and Brian typed correctly on a typing test. For both students, the relationship between the words typed correctly and the time is linear. So we know there's a constant rate of change. We need to write a function for both of them because we have to answer two questions. The first question is, which student types at a faster rate? When you see rate, sounds like rate of change. That means they want to know which one has the greater slope, Morgan or Brian. Next question, once I write my functions, how many words will each student type after 30 minutes? That means once I have both of my functions written, I have to evaluate them at 30. The good thing is these look pretty easy to write. Simply because if I look at the table, I'm sassy. If I look at the table, that's the table. What's my y-intercept? No, what's my y-intercept? No, the y-intercept is the value of x, sorry, the value of y when x is 0. What is the value of y when the value of x is 0? I gave you a hint. This is x, this is y. Zero. When this is 0, whatever that is, that's your y-intercept. So this is proportional, and if I look at the graph over here, what's my y-intercept? Guys, what is it? 0. A lot of people are just looking down, staring up. It's 0, because this is also proportional. Which means that 0 and 0, the only thing I need to calculate for both of these is the slope, and then I'll have my functions. So for the table, I'll pick two coordinate pairs. Ms. Williams, give me two coordinate pairs for the table, so I can find the slope. 0, 0, always use zeros if you can, and what else? 4, 60. So tell me, what goes in your slope formula? Minus 0 over 4 minus 0. That gives me 60 over 4, which equals 15. So the slope for this is 15, which means that Morgan's rate is 15 words per minute. Now we have to find Brian's rate. To go find Brian's rate, Miss Thomas Wells. Miss Thomas Wells. We need 2 coordinate pairs from this graph, so give me 2 coordinate pairs.
2 and 40.
2 and 40, okay.
4 and 80.
2 and 40, 4 and 80, good. You know you could have also used 0, 0. But hey, whatever works. It doesn't matter which ones you use. That's an 80, that's a 0. And tell me, what goes in your slope formula?
80 minus 40.
80 minus 40 over
4 minus 2.
4 minus 2 gives me 40 over 2, which is equal to 20.
Oh yeah.
So, we know both the rates. Who types at a faster rate, Miss Valerie? Who types at a faster rate?
Ryan.
Ryan types at a faster rate because 20 is greater than 15.
It's not Brian, it's Brian.
Brian?
My mom said she spelled my name.
Brian?
You said
Brian
my mom
types at
said,
a faster rate because 20 is greater than 15.
my mom said she spelled my
Thank you,
name.
Brian. So, now that we know both of these rates, I can write functions for both of these. The function for Morgan is f of x equals 15x. There's no y-intercept because it's 0. For Brian, it's f of x equals 20x. Thank you, Brian. So now that we have both of those, we have to go in and do the second half of this problem. We have to evaluate both of these functions at 30 words per minute. Since words, 30 words per minute, we put in 30 into x, and we do 15 times 30. That gives me 450. I plug in 30 over here. Hey, what is going on here?
580.
There we go. Sorry. We plug in 30 over here and I get 20 for Brian times 30 gives me 600 for Brian, also known as Brian. Thank you, Brian.
Can I tell you the story why my mom?
So, who types at a faster rate? Brian. Who types more words after 30 minutes? Brian. 600 is greater than 450. Any questions on this? Yes or no? No? Okay. Comparing a graph and a description. We have Aisha right here. She runs a tutoring business. She's got 2 plans. Plan A, well, plan 1, allows students to pay $10 per hour. Plan 2 is represented by this graph right here. And we are being asked which plan is cheaper for 25, that's a typo right there, 25 hours of tutoring. Down there should also say 25. So plan 1 allows students to pay $10 per hour, $10 per hour. The good thing about that, nothing I have to calculate. $10 per hour, my slope is 10, my y-intercept is 0, because if I don't attend tutoring at $10 per hour, I don't pay anything. There's no beginning, there's no initial value. So my function is f of x is equal to 10x. For plan 2, I have to look at the graph. The good thing about a graph, I can identify the y-intercept right away. What's the y-intercept? 0, 40, also known as just 40 if we're going to write an equation. So 40. And what she said is actually good because that gives me one of the coordinate pairs I need to find the slope. So I have 0, 40. And then Bianca, give me another coordinate pair.
2, 50.
2, 50 works. We take this, we run this through the slope formula. Alive. What are you putting into your slope formula? 50 minus 40, and then 2 minus 0 gives me 10 over 2, which becomes 5. So my m is equal to 5. My function is 5x plus 40. Now that I have both the functions, I have to evaluate them for 25 hours of tutoring. So I'm going to take 25 and I substitute it into both functions. Over here, I get f of x is equal to 10 times 25. That gives me $250. So that's how much plan 1 costs for 25 hours of tutoring. For plan 2, I take 25 and I substitute it in for x once again. F of x is equal to 5 times 25 plus 40. 5 times 25 is 125. plus 40 makes 165. So which plan is cheaper for 125 hours of tutoring, guys? Which plan? Plan 2 is cheaper by about $85. Any questions on how to write function rules or evaluate them? Anything? Before we move away from this and into something new. Anything? Anything?